Welcome back to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get. Today, we're sitting down with another 20 mailbag questions that you, the listeners, have sent in and that we, the hosts, have to answer. I am Terry, and with me today are Pepperina and Megan.
So the way that this episode is going to work is that we're sitting down with a list that have been randomly sorted from the monstrous amount of questions that have been sent in, and then we're going to roll initiative. That's going to determine which one of us has to read out the question in what order. And a reminder that everyone does have to answer each question, but whoever reads the question out loud has to answer it first.
And yes, we have to address every question.
God, we're getting forced into this. Adam several times has driven this point home that we have to answer everything. You guys have read them ahead of time. I haven't, so I don't know what we're getting into.
I don't think there's anything too.
This one's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I've seen worse. I've asked worse. So.
We're starting to gain an audience that actually cares about D&D and not just about our sex lives. So yeah. I think that's an improvement.
For years of this podcast, everybody thought I was the worst for like the adult and like explicit material. And I really had to drive the point home with Adam. I was like, go back and listen. I never bring it up first. I always swerve away from it. I'm not interested. Okay. All right, so let's roll.
Now they know that it's all of the ladies that are the worst.
It is. Yeah, it's us.
It's us.
We are the problem.
I avoid it at all costs. I am not interested. Okay, let's roll initiative. Let's see who's going to ask these questions then.
Okay.
18. Oh, all right.
7.
14.
Yeah, I guess I'm answering them. All right.
You're asking the
I'm
first
asking
one.
them. I'm asking them. I've never done
the first one.
I have no idea how this works.
And it looks like we're going to be rolling initiative like a few times. So like each section will be rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, question number 1 from Lead Dog 2022. How would y'all go about getting constructive criticism from your players? I have to answer first.
You do.
All right, here we go. Constructive criticism from your players. So this sounds like this person, Lead Dog, is having an issue with being defensive. Sometimes this can be the way that people put feedback across, or constructive criticism. Sometimes also people will say it's constructive criticism, but they're just being an asshole and they're just hiding behind it's just constructive criticism. But it's not. Everybody knows if they're being a dick. But I would just say you don't have to catch every ball. That's what I would say. If somebody throws a ball at you that you don't like, just let it go by. Just go, okay, thanks very much. Just let it go. Think about what they're saying. Think about if there's any validation to it, but you don't have to attack back. It might just be their preference, but a lot of people in the world, particularly D&D players, sometimes feel like the rest of the world needs to adapt around them. Those people will always fail. They will always fail. It's important for you to adapt to other people. So pay attention to what they're saying. And if you think it's worth adjusting to, you can make adjustments. If you think it's not worth making adjustments for, just let the ball go by, let it go, say thanks very much, and keep moving on. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree in terms of like just being able to adapt to what kind of constructive criticism you're gonna like tackle. And I think that it can go into, it depends on where it's coming from. If it's coming at the table and you're in the middle of game and someone says, hey, it'd be better if we do it this way or something like that, it's in game. I always like the whole Adam rule, or like any other DM that I've played with, being like, okay, well, we'll talk about the rule at the end of the session and then we'll see if we want to change it going forward, just so it doesn't stop the flow of play.
Right.
Yeah.
But if it's like an after game thing where someone messages or DMs me on the side saying, hey, I was really uncomfortable with this situation, or so on and so forth, those are the ones you want to pay a little bit more attention to in terms of what I would have to go through is the ask clarifying questions as much as you can, just to be like, okay, I want to understand where you're coming from, what the situation was, what about it the situation made you uncomfortable, and then ask them for ideal solutions that they would want. Not assume that the solution that's coming in your brain is the one that's going to work for them. And then you guys can back and forth and determine if it would work for the table. Like those are the ones you want to work with together. But if it's at the table, sometimes they'll just be like, okay, cool. We'll talk about that in a more controlled setting, but like, let's just keep going for today. And we'll play this rule this way. And for now, you know what I mean? Like those kinds of pieces, but yeah.
I mean, I think like everybody's there to have fun, right? Like that's the main goal, is everybody's there to have fun. And I think getting that constructive criticism, like any criticism you can take with a grain of salt, like however it comes across, but if it's coming from one of your players, do take it a little bit seriously. Like see if there is something you can improve, or if there's not, have that conversation and say, just trust this story and what I have planned. And like right now you might not see where it's going, but like trust that I have a plan for this.
Yeah. Yeah, players are great at feeling uncomfortable about strange things, right? Maybe it's just luck, but over the years I've been playing D&D, I can't even remember the last time I had a player come to me to tell me they're uncomfortable about things. And even then, Peps, like I agree with you, like take it with a grain of salt. Like I feel like going, oh, congratulations on burning those 20 goblins alive in the session today and all that grand larceny you committed. I understand there's something that made you uncomfortable that I said though. Like what it's like, what are we talking about? It's oh my God. People try and bring up issues all the time. I thought this was a safe space. Shut up. Okay.
Kindness, Terry. Kindness.
Kindness. Stop being a pussy. Next. Question number 2 from another Skip. Maybe he shortened his name down? Now it's just another Skip. Another Skip. What was the story about the last time you embarrassed fellow player? I'll answer this first.
I think Megan's supposed to ask that one.
I don't think so. I think it's supposed to be, each section. Yeah, I think each section is roll for initiative, and that person does the questions.
See, I thought it was like in order of how we rolled initiative.
No, Terry, you're doing it right. You're fine.
All right. Ignore me. You know what? I've only done, this is my second mailbag, and the first one was the ladies' potato day. So
we do them different every time.
Yeah. So, like, potentially Terry could have to ask every question if he wins initiative first.
Potentially,
Maybe.
yes.
Every time.
Maybe, but I mean,
I feel like he can hold his action. I feel like if it happens that way.
and I don't win D&D stuff, so okay. Okay, what was the story about the last time you embarrassed a fellow player? I don't really have a story about embarrassing a fellow players. D&D is just, for me, is just much like regular life. I don't understand how people run into so many people problems in D&D. Like I was saying on the last question, where it's like people are always saying they get uncomfortable and this and like, why are you embarrassing me? Stuff. I think like, how do you get through your regular life? You're just talking to people and playing games. It's like saying, when was the last time you embarrassed somebody playing Monopoly? It's like, well, I go in with the assumption that none of us are going to be dickheads when we're there. That was a bit strong. Sorry, my British came out then. None of us are going to be assholes when we're there. So it's like, it doesn't come up. I know what I'm doing. I'm an adult. I know if something is going to embarrass somebody publicly, so I avoid that. So I don't really have a story about when I embarrass somebody. Not that any of my players have let me know. My group that I play with are pretty vocal. They'll let me know. But no, I'm pretty conscious of I can read a room and I have enough emotional intelligence to recognize if something is going to embarrass somebody. So my advice would be don't embarrass people just in general. You will not win if you do that. So there we go.
Yeah, just don't do the things that you feel are going to embarrass yourself. Like there are things that internalized would embarrass you as a person. Just don't do those things to other people. Because like to your point, Terry, like I've never had somebody come to me and tell me that I've embarrassed them at a table. So I don't really have a legitimate, tangible story in that terms. But like, I know for me, I get embarrassed at a table if I get over rule mongered, like I don't know anything. When I feel stupid at a table is when I feel like I get embarrassed. So I will never do that to somebody else in terms of trying to I would never try and make someone else feel stupid at the table or like they don't know enough, right? Because that's the part that embarrasses me. So that's the only thing that I'm mindful of. But this is now everybody that I've ever played D&Ds with current time to come to me and tell me that I've embarrassed them at a table. Like I would love to know, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That like nobody's ever told me that I embarrass them. So I don't know that like it's never been a goal
Exactly.
to try to.
And you know your everyday life, right? If you're going to embarrass somebody or not, like, yeah. I don't know who these people are. Okay, cool. All right, question number 3 from King of Rot. What's Terry's step-by-step for making a D&D battle map? I don't expect you guys to know the answer to this question, so you can give your own steps. What are his considerations when the heroes are on the enemy's turf? My considerations are just that you're on the enemy's turf. Depending on how intelligent the creature is, would be, they would have a better understand. Well, actually, even lower intelligence creatures, even beasts, understand how to use their environment and their attributes to their advantage. So when building a battle map, I think terrain first, I think natural terrain first, and I think what natural terrain would that creature put themselves in. I always do it to the advantage of the enemy because you're on their home turf. I don't really go easy on players when it comes to environments. It's up to you to figure it out. The combat should be a puzzle in itself. And then if there are lair actions or regional effects, if it's a big boss battle, I'll build those on top. But I start with the environment. I don't always remember. I try really hard to remember lighting, how important lighting is. as well as weather. These are the things that get forgotten as we get into combat. We suddenly forget that it's dark and the human fighter cannot see. So I'll be sure that I remember that. Or we forget that it's heavily raining. We always make that joke. It's always 2 p.m. on a Thursday, 19 degrees and cloudy in D&D. But it's important to consider rain and weather, I should say, as well. So start with the environment, then I add the rain on, and then I'll add layer actions and regional effects from there.
I don't really have any methods. I mean, honestly, I usually use like the book's way of doing things when it comes to stuff that's overly complex, or I will simplify it to the point of you are just focusing on one very specific part of the battle, and everything else is unfolding around you, right? So in terms of building a giant battle map of some kind, I feel like you're going to have a map of the city, and then for me, I'd be hyper focused on one space, and then whatever's happening around folks, that's just happening in the background. So you may turn around and the whole thing's on fire, and you will never know.
Yeah. See, I think there's like so many things that go in, like variables that go into it, like what kind of creature it is. Are you inside or outside? Are you using a computer with a made-up map that you've done? Are you using theater of mind? Are you using terrain?
Or do you have to draw it yourself?
Yeah, are you like drawing it? Yeah. When I set up like terrain pieces, I usually just like, I have like a grass mat I put out little trees wherever they look like they'd be nice. Like I don't really put a lot of thought into it. It's just like, yeah, that looks like a forest.
Yeah, that's fair, right? Because it's like, what
Yeah.
part of the game do you really enjoy? And if it's not that, then just, yeah, you're right. Forest is a forest. It can be. Throw some rocks and some.
And then like a lot of times the players will sort of put their own thought and actions into that. Like I don't think you have to really plan a whole lot into it. You just put up walls and barriers and like things there, and the players and their battle tactics will use that a lot of times and surprise you in how they use that environment.
Yeah, you're right. I love it. This next question actually is on the same lines, maybe zoomed out a bit more. This is from Lee Dog 22 again. Thanks, Lee Dog. Any tips for map design? And then in brackets it says world map, regional map, that's supposed to say, or battle map. Any tips for map design? Yeah, steal everything. That's what I do. All the greatest, most interesting, most beautiful, challenging locations already exist somewhere in this world, and find inspiration online, change the shape of it a little bit, change the color of the water or whatever you want to do, turn the waterfall to acid, whatever it is, and then use that. You're not expected to have a PhD in geography to come up with these battle maps. Some people like to do everything from scratch as a DM, and that means you need to be an expert in everything in this world, in politics, in history, in medieval war strategy, in geography, and it's too much. Steal everything, reskin it, change the flavor, slap it on, and your life will be more interesting than what you can come up with from your own mind, I would say, most of the time. So that's my advice. Just steal it from the world.
Yeah, we are not scientists. I am not a geographer. I am not any of those things. Like, for instance, in our L5R group that we run, technically Rokugan is Japan. So Roman runs in that game. And then I built Marinade, which is the UK equivalent, but in the same gameplay space, but it's the UK version of. And then our friend actually just built what North America would look like in that world. And then he's now running games in that. But we all just took the continents and then put different names on things. And that's what we built. Because like, I don't know what it's going to be like. We know what our world is in terms of how hot it gets, how cold it gets, all of these things. I don't want to have to figure that shit out. I want to know what your weather is like. But I can go on Google and say, what is the weather like in the UK? Like, just do that.
Yeah.
I don't.
I've heard it's raining a lot.
I heard it's cold. Like,
It's a wet cold.
Yeah.
It's a heavy cold, you know.
Yeah.
That's great. That's exactly what I would do. Even when you think of like Game of Thrones, like Westeros, that map is just the UK with Ireland turned upside down and put on the bottom. It looks the exact same. And then we have separating England and Scotland, Hadrian's Wall, the wall, and then all of the savage wildlings in Scotland live north of that. It's the same thing reskinned, and it became the biggest TV show in the world and a great book series. But yeah.
One tip that I have seen thing that like I would love to do sometime, but I haven't really had a reason to. Is like people who put rice down on a piece of paper and then outline it, and that's their continents. If you wanted to do something original or unique, like just throw some rice on a paper and outline it.
Yeah, I feel that works.
There you go.
I feel like that works if you want to do like a small island. Like it really works for that. But if you start doing whole continents, you have to start thinking of axis, and you have to start thinking of like when, like what season are we in? Do we have a typhoon season? Do we have a hurricane season? Like you have to think of too many things. But if you're doing a small island, toss some rice or beans or whatever, and like draw a circle. You know,
just
like,
outline it. Let the rice decide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, we're millennials. We can't afford to be wasting rice, Peps. All right.
Oh no.
Well, then you just save it to put your phone in when you accidentally drop it in water.
That's fair.
That's right. I can't be throwing a cup of rice down. Okay. That's me the day. All right. Next one. Question number 5 from Zan. When did you reach a point that you said to yourself, now I know the game? What event triggered this realization, or will it ever happen? Now I know the game. I think I'd say it took me DMing a few things to understand that I know the game. And by know the game, it wasn't that I know all of the monsters, all of the creatures, all of that. It was that I could confidently just go with the flow and adjust along the way, even if maybe I wasn't following the rules properly. When I knew the game, when I had complete control over everything without being a control freak, when I was, Bruce Lee says, be like water. When I could do that with my players, I could play with all of them, and I could play with each of them differently, and I could flow through the session. I wouldn't get panicked if we ran through the encounters too quickly and then I was running out of content or something. That's when I felt like I knew the game. The more I learn about D&D, the sadder I get, because I lose that sense of wonder once I start to learn all of the monsters, what everything does, and I learn D&D a lot more. That it actually makes me sad, to be honest, because I'm not learning new things. I don't have that sense of wonder anymore. But yeah, when I had complete control is when I knew that.
Yeah, I think mine is more along the lines of the character stuff. Because in my mind, we have so many variant rules. We have so many different things that DMs do that even if I read the book back, like front to back, and understood every rule of D&D, a DM is going to choose something different, right? So that's kind of the thing where I can let that go to the wind in terms of I'll let the DM drive that for me. But for me as a player, it was when I started making more characters without having to look up what stats meant and what weapons were and what dice rolls weapons were and things like that. Like I could actually build characters in my head as opposed to doing the math on the paper. That's when I felt like I really started to understand D&D, is because that's the big piece of how you role play your character, how you interact with the world. All those things come down to the character that you've built. And so when I developed that confidence that I could just think of a character and I'd be like, okay, well, that means I'm going to have to do high strength, low con, like all of these things. Like that to me made me feel like I understood D&D a little bit better. And that goes for any role-playing game that I've played or like version. Like L5R, I didn't know I understood it until I learned how to make a character in my brain. So like that's for me, my pivot moment. Even for a DM, that helps, being able to make up a character on the spot. Like that part to me is very key to being good at the game. Anything else you can look up, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I can't make a character like that.
I think for me, it's not so much that I know the game as that I'm comfortable in the game. Like there is still so many things that I would have to look up. Like, I don't know the rules of grapple off the top of my head. I'd have to look that up. I don't know every spell off the top of my head. Even the spells that I have as a character. Every time I play, I have to reread my character sheet to like remember the shit I can do.
Yeah, how do I play a monk? Yeah.
Like I'm a druid / paladin. I forgot that I had lay on hands, that was the thing that I could do. And one of my friends was diseased. And I was like, what do I do? Oh, yeah. That's literally what my character is good at.
It's healing.
Whatever. Yeah. So no, I don't think I don't know that I'll ever know the game, but I am comfortable in the game. And I think like you just get that. And I think there's 2 different variants of that, as being comfortable as a player and being comfortable as a DM. And I am less comfortable as a DM than I am as a player, but getting there.
Yeah, and it's just, there's always going to be players that know more than you. So it's always a little bit intimidating being a DM, but they can shut up. So it doesn't matter.
That's true. If I say it's so, it's so. Like
it's so, yeah.
Okay, we
table,
got to
my
roll
rules.
initiative again, you guys.
All right.
Swap over. What did I get? I got a 17 this time.
I got a 17.
Okay,
Well, I got an 11, so you guys can roll off.
Pep's roll off. I got a 10. No, it's a 5.
I got a 3.
So I'm going again.
You're going good.
Does anybody else want to? I'll do it for the next 5. Okay, this is my next 5. Okay, this is the last one. If I win next time, I'm passing it to somebody else. Okay, scroll back up, Terry. Where are we? Okay, question number 6 from another Skip. What science fiction genre game not related to Hasbro TTRPG IP? I don't know what the fuck that stands for.
Tabletop role-playing game.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, did I make you feel embarrassed right there? Did you
Nope.
want to?
Not even a little bit. Okay. Okay. Adam once said to me a few years ago, and it stuck with me. He was like, Terry, you're a fan, but you are not in the fandom. And I was like, accurate. I don't care about the acronyms. I don't care about all of the stuff. I'll never wear elf ears, but I will continue to play. Like, I don't care. Okay. I did know what TTRPG meant, though. What science fiction genre game not related to this? What do I want to play? I don't know if it's Hasbro or not. I don't know, but I would like to play for a little bit that Star Trek game. I don't know what it is, where you all kind of run the ship together. I think I would like that.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's got a name. I don't know. I'm not in the fandom, but I did see a couple of clips of it, and it did look fun, and I think I would enjoy that one.
Yeah, there is a Star Trek RPG out there. I have a lot of them on like PDF. I was actually just looking through this morning, so there's a ton of them. Again, I don't know what's Hasbro and what's not Hasbro. So like yeah, so I'll just go off of what science fiction genre game I would like to play. I'd like a Firefly game.
They have one, technically.
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah,
I've never watched it.
Firefly? Yeah.
Never seen it.
It's pretty good. It's space cowboys.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what everyone
it's space. I think
Yeah.
that you would really like it, weirdly enough. And
Yeah.
I know that fact that I've said that now means you're never gonna watch it, but
Never
I do
gonna
think
watch
that
it.
you would really like it.
I have.
Listen, it's
attention
one
to
season in a movie. You got it. It's not like starting Supernatural where you have like 20 seasons to get into. It's one season in a movie. That's
Never
all you
seen
need to
that
do.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay,
No,
fine.
I kind of went the same route as you, Paps. It's like I don't really know what's Hasbro, what's not Hasbro, but
Yeah.
like if I was to have a sci-fi like game to play in, it would definitely be Battlestar Galactica. I've said many times on this show that was one of my favorite shows growing up. The old one and then the new remake that they made.
Yeah.
I would love to play. We play the board game in our family. We played the board game a lot, and it's a very much like a who's a Cylon and who's not a Cylon. So there's a lot of yelling at the table, and I would love to do that in a role-playing game like environment.
Yeah.
I've never seen Battlestar Galactica either, but I know a lot of people love that. So it's I
Yeah.
would trust them that it's good. It's awesome. Number 7, Lead Dog 2022 again. Not 2022, just 22. Lead Dog 22. What is something that one of the other hosts does that you want to improve on or give a shout out to something? Sorry, guys, my contact lenses are fogging up. That's why I can't read. What is something that one of the other hosts does that you want to improve on or give a shout out to? That's something that they do as a DM or a player. If you want this to rake longer, what does that mean? What is something each of the
I
hosts?
guess go on longer.
Is that a colloquial thing to rake longer?
I don't know.
To rake longer, what is something that each of the hosts do that you want to highlight? What is something that one of the hosts do to improve on? Just in general or in the game?
I was like, is this a life question or is this like a how would you improve as a player or a DM? Like
We want to improve our lives
Well,
based on each
something-
other.
Something that Adam does when he runs his games. Adam has a cool, calm, collected leadership in his D&D where he never looks panicked ever. This is not just D&D. This is role-play games as a whole. I played Call of Cthulhu with him as well. And he knows what I'm like. I'll just try and fuck it up. I'll try and throw him things out of left field. There's people that we play with as well that'll do the same thing. I like to be interesting. I always play too close to the traffic and end up getting killed. And I'll do unexpected things. And he's always calm about it. And he just never looks panicked. It's like he's a beholder and he's thought of every single eventuality. And I cannot rock him. Even if in his mind, he probably is like, Terry, you dick. What are you doing? You're derailing this. He just never seems panicked. And I don't know if I have that same poker face. I said earlier that I feel like I have more control these days, and that's true, but there's always somebody that will knock you a little bit, and he never looks panicked. So I would like to work on my poker face. I know just generally in life, I don't have that. I'm quite expressive in my face. So that's what I would like.
Yeah. I mean, I've never played with any of you, so it's a little bit hard to answer. But based on all of the dragon episodes we've done, Terry, I do really appreciate your like battle tactics and out of the box thinking when it comes to the combat questions and how you use the environment and the different things that you do that most people want to think about.
Thank you. Thank you. My favorite thing to do right now is to use a burial speed and to bite somebody and then bury them 20 feet under and then just leave them there. And then that's it. Now their whole battle is trying to figure out how to deal with that. And so is everyone else.
Yeah. I know we give you a lot of shit about pick them up and drop them. So now you went to bury them.
I said that
You
twice.
said that one time.
I said it twice, and it was always part of an extended thing. Everybody else said it 12 times, and then when Terry always says that, I went, you said it 12 times. I said it twice as part of an extended thing, and it was 4 years ago.
Yeah, we just love to give you shit though, Terry.
Yeah.
It's true.
True.
Oh. No, I don't really have anything that I want to like either. I would say the only time I've ever seen Adam shaken at a table is when it's like Dave and Dan and like throwing. There was one day where they were throwing shit back and forth during the table, and like that was the only time I've ever like seen Adam get like irate in terms of y'all need to calm the fuck down. And I was like, but otherwise
they
you're
were physically throwing shit, or their characters were
physically throwing, just like between like throwing candies at each other, and like I was just like, and I was in between them, and I'm like, you guys just need to. So that's the only time I've ever seen him get irate with a table is in that moment, and then after that, everybody was just kind of like, we had to take a minute and take a breath, right? but I would say Adam is like one of the people that I'm like, how do you know everything that's gonna happen? He feels like a seer to me sometimes. In terms of like you like, and then afterwards he's like, I had no idea you guys were gonna fucking do that. And I'm like, I swear to God that we were like, even though we choose to do the most asinine thing, he rolls with it like it was the plan all along.
Exactly.
Right? And then at the end of the day, he's like, you guys fucked that shit up. So
no, you can't tell.
No, I'm convinced he has a spreadsheet somewhere of just every possible outcome.
Oh my God. A little tree. Yeah.
All right, question number 8. FN Gregory. I wonder if that means fucking Gregory. A lot of hosts seem to be in several different D&D groups. What advice do you have for finding, joining, or creating your D&D group? I don't join other random groups anymore. It's too much of, it's like joining someone else's D&D group with people that you don't know is like going on a Tinder date with 6 people that you've never met, and you're just praying that there's no crazies there or no weirdos, and there always is, and I'm not doing it. So I will usually make a group and pull people together that I know, where I can curate them, and I'll know that those personalities will work together. My days of joining some random table somewhere are over. So I would say if you want to guarantee or almost guarantee some good synergy and a group of personalities that will work together, create that. I think this is just my advice in general. People are always talking about, especially in Vancouver, where for whatever reason we all act like we hate each other. It's like it's hard to find friends and it's hard to find this. You can pull people together and you can be the nucleus of it, and you can make a group of people that will work well. So that would be my advice. Don't try and find it because you're rolling the dice for 6 people and it probably won't work. So you can curate and make your own group would be my advice.
Yeah. I have been part of a lot of different groups, whether that be one-offs or like long-running campaigns. At one point, I was in 5 different campaigns with different groups. I suggest joining if you're looking for just anybody to play with, and you're okay with it being online. Join like the Instagram D&D community. I have found several good friends through that. Joining different Discord channels. A lot of them have people looking for other people to play with. And like if you're looking for people in your life, just talking about D&D or wearing a D&D shirt, like with your friends, because a lot of times you don't realize that they're also thinking about wanting to play. Like my first group ever was a group of girls who didn't ever play. And like, I just sort of brought up that my ex was playing D&D, and they're like, oh, I've always wanted to try that. And like just talking to my friends, learned that they also wanted to play, and that's how we formed our group. And then like one of them would be like, oh, I have a friend too that you know, you've not met, but she's really wants to play too. Can I bring her in? And you'll start to gather people just by like low key mentioning it or having on a shirt and like somebody asks what that is, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think like my work, for instance, we are always on camera and I don't always have the screen blurred behind me, and my shelf is all D&D books.
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while you'll get someone message me or DM me on the side being like, "Do you play D&D?" And I'm just like, "I absolutely do. Do you want to talk about D&D right now?" And I made so many more friends at work just because I have D&D stuff in the background.
Yeah.
And like and I found out there's like larger nerds out there than us. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I met someone at work that actually like built a tavern with her group of friends in a forest somewhere, and they go there and they spend week-long trips in like full like RPG garb, and they spend weekends at this house that they built that they call the tavern.
What?
And I'm like,
Mhm.
that is freaking wicked. And I'm just like, I popped off about how much I love D&D. And then like, she's just like, "Oh, well, I do this." And I'm like, you let me go on and on about how much I love D&D, and you built a fucking tavern. I am a pleb in comparison. You know what I mean? But now there's conversations happening at work about starting a group game at work, or like an after work, like hour long or lunchtime, just like check-ins and chat. So just talking about D&D and being open about the fact that this is a passion that you have helps you find other people that are also passionate about that thing. Because I have been blessed that all the groups that I've been with have been spawns or smaller groups from groups that I've already been with. Like it'll be like this person's like, "Hey, like I kind of want to play a game." We play a game together. 3 or 4 of those people want to continue in a different campaign. We bring 2 other people in, and then it just kind of snowballs from there. So I've been lucky that way, but I am finding that the more I'm open about the stuff that I do in my spare time, the more people I'm going to find. So
yeah. Like I work at a bakery wine bar, and I brought in Fizzbins because one of the front of house people asked me about dragons. And so I was like, "I got the book for you." And I brought it in, and it just sat behind the front of house like counter. And then customers would come in and see it there and like ask about it. And then they would come and get me. Like, "Somebody's asking about your book again." And I would just come out and talk to customers. Because I'm like behind this window in the kitchen, you know, baking shit. So I'd have to come out and talk to people about my dragon book. So just low-key drop a little thing, and the people who know will find you.
Yeah, you will attract people on your frequency when you absolutely. I have the same thing in my work as well. Megan, I have a lot of people that are very interested in playing a low-level game, a lot of newer people that want to get into it. As soon as I wrap up Rise of Tiamat, which has been going for like 2 years for me now, I'll probably start doing that as well. But yeah, you'll find people on your frequency if you put it out there. Okay, question number 9. This is from King of Rot. Nice name. I mean, I might consider changing that. Otherwise, you're going to find people on the wrong frequency. But sure, King of Rot. In my game, this is going to be one of those very specific questions. So strap in.
Yeah, it's a long one.
There is a prison on an island where the prisoners are sold flesh and soul to devils in exchange for magical weapons and warlock super soldiers for the kingdom. I know it's going to be like, what are your ideas about this wickedly specific thing? Kingdom. This kingdom owns the prison. I would like to know if this feels interesting to you as players or DMs, and I would like to hear some of your ideas. So if you had to run or play in a game here, what would you like to do? What would you like it to look like? I like the question. I was making fun about it going to be a specific question, and it is. I would say don't do the reveal too soon. Take inspiration from where you can from probably books or a movie like Shutter Island, or I think it was season 2 of American Horror Story that was in the asylum, something like that, where it was the mystery and the slow unraveling that was the scary bit. And none of it made sense until it kind of all made sense at the end for both of those things. I know as the DM, you'll be excited and you want to go, "See, it's devils," right away. And then everyone goes, "Oh, it's devils." And now we're just killing devils in every room because we already know what the thing is. It has to be a slow burn, increase the intensity and the tension, and try and hold yourself back from giving it all away, because as soon as you give it away, you've given it away. And now we're just murder hobos again. So slow burn, make it scary and scary, and just take inspiration from things like Asylum, American Horror Story, Shutter Island. I think those type of things will give you good lessons on how to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could even look into like Call of Cthulhu. I think that would be a very like common or good like setting for a Call of Cthulhu game, and which is a lot more like puzzle and like escape room type tactics versus just going in and killing things, like we tend to do in D&D. So I would look at that. I would look at the puzzles, I'd look at the clues, I'd look at how you find things and how you figure things out, in a more investigator type situation versus adventure situation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I could think that you could do this in D&D, not you could do it in D&D if you wanted to, but I feel like the way I would do it is this island you couldn't have weapons on or something like that. Like you're going into a prison, which means you're going to remove all of your weapons, which adds that element of danger, and you have to use your role playing more than you would your combat capabilities, right?
Yeah.
I also feel like I love a good fiend campaign. I love fiends, I love demons, love devils, love the whole thing. So I would want to have this somewhere in my world, but to your point, Terry, the slow roll would be that like the finding and exploration would be like there's cults towards it. There's villages that have people that go missing. Like you could do your classic tropes that lead up to the fact that this prison, these things are happening here. Perhaps maybe one of your characters' gods is tied to like the righteous version, like the opposite of like the demon who runs this place, right? So you can tie that in a lot. I love a good cult. We know that. But yeah, I would say that if you were going to actually have them go to this island, I feel like there'd be a magical barrier and you would not allowed to have your weapons, which means that you are going to have to use your mind and your like theater of the mind to figure out what else you can do to help here, right?
And like an anti-magic field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Because sometimes, like, as a fighter, when your weapons get taken away, but you still have a sorcerer who can use all their fucking spells, it's like so frustrating.
That's what I mean. So you have to like you want to get rid of all characters. Or like magic characters aren't allowed to this island, which is then you have to figure out what you do if you're going to split the party, right? So there's a couple different things that you can do here to like make this island navigatable, right?
Yeah.
I love the idea though. It's probably great. It would probably be really good. Could be intense. I like it.
Yeah. I would like to see what the merchants look like in the world in terms of like they're the ones selling the weapons.
Right.
Like, because like the weapon, like they get the weapons and then what they do to them. Obviously, they sell them to other people or they like merchant them around the world or they're owned by a very rich conglomerate or whatever. Right. So that would be a connection that I would see if I could figure out what that would mean.
Right.
But anyways, really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm pausing because now I'm trying to think about stealing that. Using my own advice, steal things. Okay, question number 10. Diggly Blue Moonya asks, so what's everybody wearing to Mieka and Adam's wedding and who is in the bridal party? Will you be posting pics? Have you had a bridal shower or any bachelorette? That must be a small bachelor or a bachelor party yet. I am a slut for details. What's everybody wearing? Well, I'm a dude, so I will wear a suit and a shirt and a tie, but I will make sure it looks good and we'll be tailored.
You have a specific color in mind though.
Yeah.
What color is it?
What color is it? I'll probably go with a blue, a darker blue. I like a good blue.
Okay.
Black I find can give the wrong impression sometimes. And I have at work I have a team of 15 people and 9 of them are women, and their favorite thing is to talk about what I wear, and they try and dress me all of the time. And so this will be, they try and dress me and they try and decorate my apartment and things. And so we'll have an ongoing conversation about that. And they will make sure that I'm fitted correctly. As for the other things, I have no idea. This sounds like none of my business.
Yeah, we'll divert the rest of that question to Megan because I feel like she knows better than
Megan,
two of us.
But what are you wearing, Peps?
Wearing. I don't have a dress yet because it's in October.
Yeah.
But probably the sluttiest yet respectable dress I could find.
Why
Oh,
slutty?
you know what? We love that about you.
Why are you
It's part of her MO, Terry.
I can't because I can, Terry, and nobody's gonna stop me.
Sure. Go ahead.
Well, in terms of wear, my partners and I have a tradition of every time we go to a wedding or a formal event, we dress in our house colors, which is the dragons. So we wear green and gold. So constantly, that's our MO. So luckily enough, the company that makes some of my favorite clothing, Black Milk, if you guys have never this is for the audience. Great company. They made a House of the Dragons collection with a black and gold dress with dragons on it. And so I will be in dragon wear, Peps. So just so you're aware as ahead of time. I'm not trying to steal your thunder in any way, shape, or form. You are still Dragon Queen, but it is my house. I have to. So and that's an L5R thing, not a Game of Thrones thing. But anyways,
I appreciate any dragon wear. So
right. In terms of bachelor and bachelorette parties, There have been things that have gone on. We threw one for Mieka while she was in town earlier this year. It got a little ratchet. It was a great time with all the ladies together. Peps, I'm sorry that you couldn't be here. We actually tried to get Peps to come here.
Did. Your country won't allow me in yet,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. So,
yeah.
but we wanted to make sure that she was feeling very welcomed in our Canadian lifestyle, because she will be here soon. And then in terms of Adam's bachelor party, I think they just recently went to Vegas.
Yeah, there are a lot of pictures on his
Of their Vegas adventures.
Yeah.
So I think that was the other one for him. There are a couple other things planned. I can't say them because they're going to be the ones editing this episode and releasing it to public, so we can't really reveal any more of those secrets. But once those happen, and once photos of the wedding are pictured, like, I'm sure that we can digress a couple more of those details. But yeah.
Beauty. Posting. I will post. I don't post anymore. I might do a little something. I might go back to some stories for a little bit, but yeah, I'm sure there'll be lots of posting stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
it'll be the first time that I'm meeting literally
all of
all
us.
you.
Yeah.
It's gonna be weird because we've known you for so long. So
Right?
strange. That's the
I'm very
modern
excited.
world, right? That's what
Yeah.
we do.
Especially Terry, what did we like? You were the first one I met. Like, was 2017, 2018, somewhere there. Like
God.
it's been a while.
Hey, can you lie down? All right, we got to re-roll initiative.
Yeah. Here we go.
10. I'm not winning this time, so
I got 16 for me. I'll read, I guess. All right, so question 11 from another Skip. Would you review a homebrew heartbreaker? What does that even mean?
What does that
I
mean?
don't know what
are we
that
talking about-
question
are we-
means.
Are we talking about the TV series, The Heartbreaker, or the anime, or like the manga, which is an adorable storyline? But
Review a homebrew
I
heartbreaker. I don't know what that is. Is that
I'm
like
gonna do a quick Google to see if Google tells me something.
Yeah.
yeah, I read that
Homebrew
question.
heartbreaker.
And I
What it
was
is,
like,
man.
I don't know what this means.
I don't know the terms and the stuffs.
Okay, so why do people keep calling all their homebrew systems heartbreakers? I guess in the 90s and early 2000s, before easy online publishing and POD, there was a surprising number of people who would spend a ton of money / mortgage their homes for large print runs of their D&D alike games that never sold. Folks started calling them heartbreakers for the obvious reasons, and the name stuck even after technology made it them less actually heartbreaking. Okay, so I'm assuming this is a thing that used to exist in terms of you would homebrew your stuff, have the book written, try and sell it, and nobody would buy it. And that's why it's called a heartbreaker. So would we review a homebrew heartbreaker? So would we go back and review an old book that was printed but isn't officially D&D, I'm assuming? I mean, why not? I guess. But I don't want to break more hearts if that's what that means. But I also feel like the system is like adjusted and changed so much over time that all I'm really going to think about is how weird the system might be if they were homebrewing stuff that doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that because this is an old term, and in terms of like, I don't know if this still exists with current content, would our podcast do that? But I mean, Adam might just say, Megan, we're doing that right now in my ear. And I'd be like, I don't know.
Mhm.
And would I do it? Yes, because that's what I'm being told to do. But do I feel like I would want to?
Show up
No.
and do what we're told is basically.
That's the way I like it. Just tell me what to
That's
do. I'll
that.
do it. I'll be there.
Uh-huh.
My best effort, but you just tell me where to be. Would I review a homebrew heartbreaker? Yeah, sure. I mean, that's kind of tragic to listen to that. I mean, there's only two reasons that didn't work. Either your product sucked and that's why it didn't work, or your product was good and your marketing sucked. So you'll know right away. So yes, if we were going to do that on the show, I absolutely would, but you'll find out real quick. It would be even more heartbreaking to find a good product and it was just they didn't have the marketing dollars to let people know about it. But you'll know right away, probably page one, you'll be like, this product is shit. That's why that person lost their house. So, but yes, I would be open to it, certainly. But I would be brutally honest because you need me to be honest, because I do not want you to lose your house if it's shit. So I need to tell you if it is.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, sort of like Megan said, like, if it's not 5e, like it is other like previous editions, I'm not necessarily going to understand the mechanics of it to review it. Because it's not going to fit into what I do know. But I mean, I'd give it a read. Give it a shot.
Give it a try.
Yeah,
it a
sure.
1-2
See if we
pager.
can sort it out. I mean, half of what we do is just make shit up anyway. So
Let's read about somebody bearing their soul and then destroy it, because that sounds like a lot of fun.
It's better. No, but they can't fill long term, Megan. You got to tell them. if they're like, I'm going to put all this money into this, I'm going to do this, and then 2 pages in, you're like, I will never ever play this. You've got to tell them, but just tell them why. In fairness to them, tell them why. But yeah, I would review
No,
it.
I was saying that in agreement in terms of I would love to destroy somebody's
Oh,
soul.
sorry. I think I missed the love bit. I think. Sorry, I
I
didn't.
love it. Anyways, moving right along. So from Snow, question 13, what is the sexiest thing that could happen in the Feywild? I feel like we answered this one on the girls
No, we're on
episode.
12, Megan. We're on 12.
Yeah,
We're on 12?
Fucked up on
Yeah.
the second thing
I
you
did. Well, can we answer this one first and I'll loop back and we'll do the next one? I've
Yeah,
already read this
yeah.
one out loud.
Okay.
But I do feel like we did answer this in one of them, but I cannot really recall. It might have been worded
I
differently.
mean, yeah, I feel like we just answer that sort of in every girls episode.
What's the sexiest thing
That's fair.
that could happen in the Feywild?
Because like to be fair, I mean, if we want to really get like into brass tacks of things that exist, there is a book series out there called A Court of Thorn and Roses, which in my mind is just the Feywild smut. Is all that really is.
It pretty much
and so instead of measuring for dick size, you measure for wingspan. So I feel like I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Measure for wingspan. Oh man.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
What is the sexiest thing that could happen in the Feywild? What do I want as a man in his mid-30s right now from the Feywild? I would just like a nice, respectable Fey. That would be nice. Someone who looks like they're going to be a good mother and will be good to us, to the family. That would be nice. I think a dude in my mid-30s in Vancouver, that's what I would like to find. It's just a nice, respectable Fey woman. That would be the sexiest thing I could find.
Does that exist?
In Vancouver? Sure.
They're there. I know some.
They're around.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, read some smut books. That's I just got into my first smut book that I'm working on, and I think he's the Prince of Hell. But you know,
if you get into demon smut, let me know. I've got some stuff for you.
yeah. It's the Deer and the Dragon. And did I buy it because it said dragon? Probably.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it could anything goes in the Feywild, you know? Anything goes there. So I guess use your imagination.
Because they've got fair representation of all kinds. So you can do whatever you want there. Yeah.
Any kink flies in the Feywild. So there's zero kink shaming there. So
I'll shame your kink.
That's why you're not allowed in.
Very well. Yeah.
Get out of you.
Oh Lord. Okay, moving right along. I'm gonna look back to question 12 from Lee Dog 22. Where can we get more of the tables y'all mentioned? I've heard y'all, particularly Adam, mention random encounter tables, NPC tables, race tables, loot tables, etc. And I'd love to see them. I just started supporting Lady Tiefling to her random loot tables per y'all's suggestions, and those are fantastic. Now I want more. These are the kinds of things that I will Google to see if they exist. Like if I want a random table, I know Adam homebrews his random encounter tables in terms of like what's happening in the world. We also use cards now, because you can get those monster stack cards. And anytime we do a random encounter or something, we'll actually just draw from that deck now, as opposed to using roll on a table. And that's been really cool and really fun to do. That's a little bit different. So if you don't want to use tables, that deck of cards is really neat. And I'm sure you could like homebrew that in terms of just print up a bunch of like little pieces of slips of paper of all the different kinds of monsters that exist in D&D, put them in a dish, pull the name out of a hat. I feel like you can do that with NPCs, as well as like loot tables and stuff like that too, if you wanted to. If you don't want to get too overly complicated. But again, this is a Google for me, and if it exists, I will just take it from the internet. Yeah.
Steal it.
Yeah.
Yeah. DM's Guild would be a good place to look. I also have a tarot deck that is a D&D tarot deck, and on top of it telling you what the card means in the little booklet, it gives you a random encounter. So you can just pull a card, look at what that card is, and that is your random encounter for that session, which is pretty awesome.
I love it. Shout out to Lady Tiefling as well. Her stuff is fantastic. She's been doing it for years now. I was following Lady Tiefling like 6 or 7 years ago or something. So
yeah,
awesome, cool. Where do I get mine? I just steal my shit from Adam, to be honest, and I know that doesn't help. But his tables are fantastic, and he's given me some over the years for different things. That's what I use. I'll swap things out that I will steal from other places of inspiration, books, movies. whatever, but I don't have like a place that I go to and I get it all. So I would say just you can pull ideas from things that you see and you can just reskin it a little bit, slap it in there. I think we make things more complicated than they need to be. So steal things from different places is all I can say. And you don't need to find D&D or RPG material. You can find materials from other things in the world that you can use for your game. You can cross-train this stuff. So I wouldn't look for RPG material, just look for other things that are inspirational.
Love it. All right. Next question, 14, also from LeeDog22. Any tips on running a hex crawl? So for anyone who doesn't, just either of you guys know what a hex crawl is?
No, please describe it.
I will describe it for you. And for the audience at home, for anyone who's unawares. A hex crawl is basically a type of adventure module in which the player characters explore an overworld map. So in this mode of play, the map is dotted with very specific points of interest. And those locations are initially only known to the DM, and then the party must traverse the wilderness to discover them, kind of thing. So it's just like a different way of playing an open world map is the way I am envisioning it in my mind. But I think that's the best way to describe it. And like we did a version of this in my mind in terms of like in one of our games where we had a whole bunch of different things that we knew we had to do. Like we had to meet this man in land X on the left side of the map. We had to deal with a Tarrasque on top right corner of map, and we had like 6 or 7 different places we needed to go, but the travel time between each was like months of travel time. So we had to like figure out what was our, what like stack rank, like what was most important, and then try and figure out what we needed to do in what order. And then each one of those little points of interest became a good 2 to 3 months of gameplay in terms of getting there. How did we get there? Okay, now you have to cross an ocean, now you have to cross a river, all those pieces, right? So in terms of like any tips on running one, I think this goes back to the question we answered earlier in terms of a map. Just use a place like especially as a DM, like just pick a continent and slap some different names on it. You'll have rivers, you'll have mountains, you'll have temperatures, weathers, all that shit will exist so that you don't have to overthink it. Especially since the whole point of this is that you are traversing the world to get there. So don't overcomplicate it for yourself and just pick something that you know. And don't try and figure out how to make a planet work. Like any hoozle.
Yeah. I think I like the idea of if they're different points that they have to find, having it make a pattern of some kind that after they acquire like so many, if they're paying attention, they can sort of figure out where the next one might be. And just giving them those sort of clues, which they may not pick up on at all if they never pull out a map and actually mark where their spots are. Which is entirely possible. But like I do like the idea of it being some sort of pattern that means something in that world, or like is a clue to what the like end game is of where they need to go to next to complete this.
Yeah, I gotta share my screen because what you're saying, I gotta do this like a Zoom call. They can't see this, but I'm gonna share my screen so you understand. Because what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Because this is technically what a hex map looks like. It is a bunch of hexagons with different types of travel.
It's Catan.
It's Catan. It's Catan the board. And then it takes like 5 to 6 days or whatever miles it is to go from one hex to another, right? But you'll have like so what you're saying is you could make a pattern out of that for sure. Yeah.
So I love those ideas, but when I do hex crawls, I typically do it a lot more zoomed in. Like I'll do a hex crawl through a city or a town if there's something happening. So an example could be right at the start of Horde of the Dragon Queen. This isn't really a spoiler because it's like page 1. Like there's a dragon attacking the town, and you're right there in it. And I will have a hex crawl through that town, where instead of the players, me having to describe, now you go onto Smith Street and then go 200 feet and turn right on whatever. I kind of do it more like how Final Fantasy works, where you'll be going through an area, but then when you get into an encounter, you're sucked into a scene. And what is in that scene might not be exactly what you just kind of saw, but I'll kind of use the hex crawl to move from scene to scene. And then each hex will be a different encounter. And so that's much easier for me to manage as a DM. And it means that I can bring the cities to life by really having the cities just be a number of different scenes that are connected, instead of me trying to memorize every single street and every single house and building. I can just do it as different scenes that are connected. And then that makes moving through a city with some backdrop of some activity happening, as being attacked by a dragon or something, much more exciting than me trying to memorize every little detail. So I do hex crawls a little bit more zoomed in than that.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, last one then from another Skip, question 15. Which author character from Wizards of the Coast is the one whom you would most want to adventure with? This is where I have to admit, I don't know. Like,
What's an
at
author,
all.
What's an author character? A character who is an author?
This is what I'm assuming. Like or someone who writes for Wizards of the Coast. So I'm also thinking of like the only author that came to mind was R.A. Salvatore, which is like the most traditional writer for D&D, but not necessarily Wizards of the Coast. I'm gonna sound really dumb on the internet.
I read it as like a character that is in one of the books. Like a famous NPC.
Like
An
authored character instead
Yeah.
of author character? Okay.
Yeah, like one that an author made up
Yep.
Oh,
We need some clarification.
from one of the books.
Yep.
But
okay, but I like that direction more because I know Pep's
Yeah.
answer is gonna be Strahd.
well, it was actually going to be Esmeralda.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, still
Growing.
from the Strahd in the same vein. I have other plans for Strahd.
Adventuring? No.
No,
Different
we're
vibe.
we're not leaving the castle very much. But Esmeralda, she'd be a lot of fun on the road.
There you go. You could stroll the ton,
Yeah.
But I mean, my answer is Cass. Like Cass is the one, my obsession, my current obsession, and has been an obsession for a while.
Yeah.
I really love their story, and I would love to adventure with that human being for more than one reason. But that's me.
Skip, this is confusing. An author character would be a character who is an author. A character author would be an author who writes characters. So you're confusing me with this. I feel like your words are the wrong way around.
That's why we made up our own one.
We made up our own.
So what are we saying? Our favorite character from D&D?
Yeah, like famous NPC.
Famous NPC. Who's my favorite famous NPC? Oh, what's the name of Strahd's dude? Rahadin? Did I make that name up? The elf guy that you hear the screams when you're too close to him. He's like his right-hand man. I think it's Rahadin. I think that's his name. But I love that character. Very scary. He's really intimidating. I found when I ran Strahd for the second time, I felt like he was in some ways as scary as Strahd is, because Strahd, like, he gets a bit, it's been done and we get it in the wives and stuff. Yeah. But Rahadin was like truly scary because he didn't have any of that cheesy stuff with him. So he's probably my favorite one right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say or Fizbin, because I love all the quotes and stuff in Fizbin.
Yeah.
like just traveling with that guy would be a lot of fun. We'd have a lot of stories to tell you.
What an adventure.
Yeah. Do you feel like he would always be talking? Like he'd be like,
Yeah.
Shut up, man.
Yeah, he would always be talking.
Okay. I'd have to put some boundaries on him. I'd be like, look, I'm happy to converse during these times. Please block off.
You just have to know the silent spell. So
Yeah.
you can drop it.
Well, people say the Fizban is Bahamut, so way more powerful.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I would not like to travel with Bahamut because not a fan. But Fizbin, love.
Beauty. Are we rolling in
All
this?
right.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're rolling initiative again.
Last section of the day.
10 again.
Yeah.
11.
3.
Delightful.
Do you guys want me to read them since I haven't?
You know what?
yet?
I'm going to hold my action. I'm going to make Peps read.
Take a
All
turn.
right, I'll read the last 5. What is your favorite cheese? I thought about this because I did read them ahead of time. I'm gonna say cream cheese because it's so versatile,
That's
and
so
you could use it
American.
in sweet,
Cheese in a
and you
can.
could use it in savory, and
Cream.
like you could use cream cheese in just about any situation.
It is great. It is cream
Yeah.
cheese.
Yeah.
Megan,
That's
favorite
fine.
cheese?
It depends. Like I love a good feta on my salads, like a
Oh,
feta
yeah.
on, and like
Feta
just
is a good
sprinkle that
one.
shit on everything, you know.
Mhm.
But I love, like, I'm a big fan. Like the cheese I buy the most is Parmesan, but it's like brick Parmesan that you can either, and like you can actually slice it, or you can like warm it up, or you can like flake it, eat this. Like, I don't like the salt in a jar, which is Kraft Parmesan. I like real like brick could kill a man if you hit him with it kind of Parmesan,
Yeah.
So
At work, we got an order of Parmesan, and everybody left. It was just me in the kitchen, and it was a 30-pound wheel of Parmesan cheese that came in this box, and I had to like figure out how to break this shit down so I could grate a cup of it. I needed a cup. I needed 1 cup of Parmesan cheese, and I had a 30-pound wheel.
That cow's
I
exhausted.
love them.
Yeah.
30 pounds. What do I like? I like interesting cheeses to snack on. Like if they've got stuff in them, like I like a smoked apple, or like they have like ginger in them or something. And then I do try a lot of different British cheeses. I like a good Gloucestershire. Sorry, perhaps that's Gloucestershire to you.
Okay.
I like those more interesting ones just to snack on every now and again. But yeah, I like the other ones. Feta, I don't do. Feta is for girls. I feel like it's girls get excited by feta cheese. There's no dude in the world that's ever been excited by feta cheese. And if they say they are,
My partner likes feta. Okay.
Just the audacity on both Megan and I's faces.
when was the last time he bought his own feta cheese?
All the time. He buys feta. He has all kinds of cheeses. He doesn't discriminate on cheeses.
He's lying. But I like in all things in life, I just like variety. So I don't really have favorites of anything. I just like to try different things all the time. Well, that's it.
Fair enough.
I am bad at this game and forgot to say that was from Terror Pickle. So thank you, Terror Pickle, for the
Terror
cheese
Pickle.
question.
Also, let's consider changing that one. That one's also worrying as well. Nobody wants King of Rot or Terror Pickle. You have to understand why those might be intimidating names to people.
It's funny you say that because our next question comes from King of Rot.
King of Rot, we got to work on this, dude. I hope that your Bumble profile name is not King of Rot, okay?
So our next question is, would you please try to pronounce the letter? It looks like a capital R, and then it has a little sort of arrow on top of it. But first, without looking it up, and then after looking it up, I don't think any other country has the letter, but just in case, it's Czech.
Oh.
I don't know, man.
Here we go. This is interesting. Actually, okay.
I mean, I just see an R and I go, like, it's just,
Here's what I'm going to be wrong. Here's my two instincts. So that accent where it goes up and down, like the little V thing like that, I believe in like Mandarin is where you go down and back up again, like that. So maybe like R, like down and back up. Whoever speaks Mandarin has probably just told me I'm wrong. That's what my Chinese friend told me. And then for Czech, or it might be more like a H sound, like her, like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like Czech words and like if like what those sound like, but
I think it'll sound more like a combination of H and R together, but not like American style, not like her, like just like her, like that.
Yeah, I was gonna think it's like a roll of the R in term like, but like they don't really roll their words, and that's why I was like, I don't know if that really fits.
Like
but
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now we gotta look it up. Google.
King of maybe his name is King of Hot if we're saying it like an HR. King of Hot, that's better. King of Rot. Are we looking it up?
We got to. It's part of the question.
We need a producer. Adam, we need a producer to do this stuff for us.
Okay.
Maybe that'll be me. Maybe that'll be my next job. Then I don't have to talk as much. Can just look
Esh. Can you guys hear that?
Esh. That's not what I said. I said an H sound. And
so according to Google Translate, it's Esh.
We love it.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
Could be. If it's wrong, we blame Google.
Yeah, Google's wrong if it's wrong.
So sorry if we said it wrong. We're not expected to know every language and pronunciation, which I know.
We struggle with our own.
You struggle with it, perhaps. Okay. I feel like I got English.
Okay. Do you?
Yes. 100%. Yes.
All right. Our next question comes from LeeDog22. What application or resources do y'all like for designing maps? I have designed a fair amount of maps, and I use Incarnate for that. I have found it fairly useful. I had a friend help me learn how to use it.
Is it quite technical? like difficult to master?
It's not super technical. There was just some like tricks that I didn't realize that I could do that made it easier. Like adding more than one tree at a time. That are helpful. But even if you have like very basic knowledge, you can make a basic like dungeon map or something along, or like city or something like that. So Incarnate is where I usually turn.
Yeah, our group uses Incarnate as well. Yeah, and we just started using it more. Again, like this is what we use to build our fake North America and our fake Japan and our fake UK. Is we took the regular map and like again moved things around, but it was very good to just import stuff and just change things. So it's a good program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't design maps. That's not my favorite part of being a DM. I used to do it and it takes up a lot of time. I put so much more investment into my NPCs and like my encounters and stuff more than I do the maps. And I always play in-person groups. I don't do online stuff. So I will just take big books of maps and then I'll just take whatever works for the situation, or I will go through that book and then find where I can use that particular map. So I don't really design maps. So my advice, take it or leave it. You don't need to design it if you don't enjoy that part of the game. You can steal it. Don't steal it. That's what they're for. You can buy it and use it is what I mean.
There are also like if you're doing in-person games like dungeon tiles that you can use, things like that. I have some that were sent to me that are like they're flat cards that you cut out and there's different things on them. There's buildings, there's trees, there's, different pathways. You can flip them over and there's something different on the other side. There's boats and water and that kind of thing. So you can just very quickly throw these tiles down and situate a map on your table. So if you are in person, I would look for things like that also.
Yeah.
All right. Question 19 from another Skip. Would you shrink the players as a way to have them face off against very low CR creatures in order to reuse some old favorites in the campaign? I would not necessarily shrink my players, but I would beef up the monsters and just increase their CR and what they can do and their abilities.
Yeah, I agree. I would not. There's no point in like handicapping your characters, your players, just to have like some other bad, evil things to fight, right? There's 100 things in the game to use. And like we say it all the time in the Undead podcast, this isn't very scary, but if you put 13 of them in front of me, I might have a problem, right? Use a swarm, like you could use classic, like you could use tiny little kobolds, just put 20 of them in front of them. Yeah. Right. And then it becomes a different kind of like battle navigation, right?
They went back and got their friend and now they're all pissed.
Everyone's
I guess another route you could go with that we sort of touched on earlier in the prison situation, not necessarily shrinking them down, but putting them in a situation where they're like a prison, like their weapons have been taken, or they have to go into a fortress or city or like Strahd's castle and like they have to hand over their weapons and there is a like magic blocking shield around it. You could do that sort of thing. So they have already beat them, but they had all their stuff and now they don't have their stuff and have to figure that out.
Yeah, I think for me, I agree with you guys. I wouldn't shrink the player characters to make the monster scarier. For me, shrinking the player characters is to make the environment more challenging and interesting and to build a puzzle around the environment. It's not really for the monster. If you want a big monster, use a big monster. I know what you're saying, bring back some old favorites. I agree with both of you guys. You can just find a reason to make that creature bigger. It's D&D, magic, potions, that sort of stuff. If I'm going to shrink the players, it's to make an interesting environment.
All right. I believe this is our last question, and it is a doozy. I did, like I said, read ahead. This comes from Diggly Blue Munya. Megan said in a Five Rings episode that she'll never flirt at the table again because of a bad experience, but she's on record as loving the drama and pain in role playing. Do any of you have a person who you would feel comfortable DMing you through expressing real vulnerable emotions like anger, fear, love, loss, horniness, depression, joy, anxiety, or whatever? Or will you always keep your guard up? As someone who is female identifying, the ladies episode made me question a lot of my own defenses and where they come from. And now I've got a mild obsession with the daydream of finding a table and a DM who will let me just exist in a real emotional moments. Aren't you all so tired of needing to keep the protective shell up all the fucking time? I think that's 2 questions. Oops. So yeah, we did, and we touched on this quite a bit in the ladies episode that we did. I do personally have a DM that I feel extremely comfortable with. Got DM on Instagram, or Ray as his players know him. And in that world, I have cried at his table multiple times, like more times than I can count. His is the only table I have cried at. That has been through loss, that's been through friendship, that's been through betrayal, joy. He does a thing where we get to once a year say goodbye to characters we've lost, and those are always very big moments, saying goodbye. So the way he DMs and the people that are at the table with you, even though I've never met any of them, I feel the most comfortable with them and have cried with just about everyone in that world, for different reasons. And we're all very respectful. If he sees that there is a moment where somebody is like really having an emotion, we will pause. I've had games where he's had to pause like 2 or 3 times for me because it was so rough. And it's all about respect and giving people space to feel those feelings. And if they are having a moment, not just glossing over it, and giving them that time and having everybody else give them that time.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I know this comes from like my major storyline that I told during our women's episode, but it doesn't mean that I don't anymore as a full stop. It just means that I changed the way that I do it. And it changed the way that I navigate tables and how I speak to people and how I handle it in and out of game. It also, when it comes to loving the drama of it, it doesn't have to be my drama for me to love it. You know what I mean? I am very open and honest and willing to allow folks to have those kinds of moments at the table and let them have them. Right. So, and I love them just as much as if they were my own. Because that's a beautiful thing about D&D and playing role-playing games as a whole, is that you are able to be open and vulnerable with people at a table if you want to, and if it's a safe space for you to do so. I am lucky enough that in playing at tables with Adam, like, I trust that man wholeheartedly, and him and I will talk about things in and out of game that make sure that like everybody at the table is having a good time. And he was one of the first tables that I played at after that experience. And it took me a while to come out of my shell in terms of being able to interact with people at the table. Terry, you were in that game, the first game that I came out of, to try and have relationships again, but I just did it differently. It was all behind curtain, and it was all fade to blacks, and it was all very, very above board when it came to playing at the table. And then as I've grown as a player, and as I've grown more confident with the people I'm playing with at the table, it does shift that for me a little bit, and it makes it become a little bit more bold and a little more brazen, but still having those mental check-ins. I do feel like I don't have my shell up all the time, but I do have it up quite a bit. And unfortunately, that just comes with being who we are as people. That does not stop my enjoyment of the game. And I would hope that nothing like that would stop your enjoyment of the game, because it took me a long time to come back to the game. And that table I played it with Adam, Terry, Dan, and them was the first time me coming back. And I never looked back. I've been here ever since. So don't let it stop you. And just find a table that lets you do the things that you love to do. And if it doesn't feel right, move on. So
I didn't know that, Megan. Actually, that's good to hear. I really didn't know that. I thought you just showed up because you wanted to play. And cool.
No. Trauma. The backstory.
Trauma.
Okay.
I know. I feel like Ray is my therapist a lot of times. Like, he just knows when I need to work through something, and he throws it into the game.
Well, weirdly enough, that's Roman as our forever DM for L5R. Like, everything that we do at the table is all of us working through our own real trauma at the table, and like, he is very good at navigating it with people. And so it actually playing L5R allowed me to be more like Samurai Sadness Simulator in a safe space, that then was able to make me take those skills and bring them back to my D&D tables. So
Yeah.
it is about finding that person that will
Yeah.
help you, right?
Yeah, there's like a situation where I had split from my group and it was very emotional and very heartbreaking, and I went into a deep depression about it. But like he helped me work through that, like forgiveness and like being okay with friends that you felt have wronged you in those moments, and like being like understanding that, you know, they have a side of their story, and you know, nothing is ever done necessarily intentionally to hurt you. They just have to do what is right for them in that moment, and everybody's doing their best. And like he really, really helped me work through like all of those things just in game, you know, like it really can be just therapy if you have the right group.
I'm with you. I think for me, I think this comes to what both you guys kind of talk about, is just finding the right table. For me, D&D needs to be the easiest part of my week. That's when I go, I want to relax. I have a fantastic group that I play with. I got men and women at the table, and they all work so well together. Great personalities. I've had deep games before where I've been, you know, feeling emotional and are having real life emotions about things that are happening with characters and stuff. But also, I like to limit that for myself. I don't. For me, it's got to be the easiest part of my week. I can't be sitting there if someone's having a traumatic breakdown over stuff and it becomes a whole thing, and now the attention's on them. It depends on the emotion, right? Any emotion too much is too much for me at a D&D table, whether it's sadness, anger. If you're too angry, I'm not playing with you. Jealousy, because there's some weird inter-party thing going on, not interested in that. Anything. People flirting at the table, I'm like, get a room, text each other later. Okay, just text. If you want to go out with somebody, just text them, but don't make me live narrate your weird cross room thing that now 6 of us have to deal with because you want your safe space, whatever the fuck that means, to do this. Okay, I want to play D&D, and it needs to be the easiest part of my week. Text each other, go out later. I hope you have a great time. That's it. So for me, any emotion which is getting too much, that's just not the right group for me. And if we start getting to the point where we're talking about trauma and things, I'm like, I'm out. See you later. Enjoy your sessions. That's not the table for me. So my advice to people with this stuff is don't feel like you need to get sucked into that. You're as important as anyone else at the table, and no one else is more important than you. So if somebody is sucking all of the attention every third session because there's now a new emotion that they have to process or something, that might not be for you. Leave them to it. Best of luck. But that's not the reason I play D&D. I play D&D because it is the easiest part of my week. It is not a therapy session. I've been ducking that shit for years. So there we go. So that's
And I think that's totally fair. Like it can be both, you know, like, and you can find a group for both. If you want to just laugh and have fun and kill goblins, valid. If you need shit to work through shit and feel comfortable with your group and everybody's on board with that, valid. Like,
go
and
ahead.
it's
Go ahead. But
and
you're
it's
not taking up
okay to
my
have
Thursday.
like I said, I at one point was in 5 different groups. Like I didn't cry at every table. I didn't work through therapy at every table. I did at this one specific because it was okay there, and we all do. Like we have all had these moments. Even the DM, I've been in sessions where literally all of us were in tears. But then I've been in sessions where we ate pancakes and got high and saw like
Had a shopping session.
visions.
Like,
Yeah, like it's not all like that. It doesn't have to be all like that. Which is totally fine and valid, and it's totally fine to just have a group that is silly murder hobos and probably the bad guys, you know.
Yeah. But if you're looking for a table where that's the main focus, is having real life, high emotions, tough conversations at the table, it is a very specific group that you have to find.
Yeah.
And you have to have a lot of trust in that person. This would not be I'm going to find a random person on the internet to play D&D with.
Absolutely.
That's going to get you in trouble. Like it has to be people that you know, people that you trust, and people that care about you. So don't put yourself in a difficult situation.
And I think, like we say often, like this is a good session 0 conversation.
Correct.
What you are looking for in your game and making sure that everybody's wants line up. You know, if you have somebody like Terry who doesn't want it, and then you have somebody who really wants to dive deep in it, that's not going to be a good match. And session 0 is the perfect place to figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, session 0. That's good advice.
Well, all right. Thank you for listening to another round of mailbag questions on the It's a Mimic channel. If you'd like to ask us questions that we'll definitely answer no matter what, you can reach out to us through the mailbag post on the subreddit r/It's a Mimic. Hit us up through Facebook or Instagram, send us messages through the website, or join our Patreon, which has a Discord channel dedicated to mailbag questions.
It's first come, first serve, so get those answers in ASAP or questions in ASAP. We already have a handful of overflow questions for the next mailbag in 3 months.
And again, thanks for listening and supporting us at It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.
Hey everybody, just a couple quick notes because there were a couple of questions here that didn't get added onto the mailbag question, the list for Megan, Peps, and Terry, because honestly, they were kind of more geared for someone who's going to do the research or directly pointed at me. I'm tacking them onto the end here because I don't know when I'm going to be on the next mailbag. I don't think it's going to be for a long damn time, so let's just knock them out really quickly here. First and foremost, there was the question about where can you get more tables that we mention? He says, Lee Dog 22 rather, says that I mention random encounter tables, NPC tables, race tables, loot tables, etc. He'd love to see them. I am absolutely 100% going to just make my tables a PDF and I'll throw them into the drive and post the link on Reddit for the next week. And I will also post it, a downloadable copy of this, on the Patreon as well for any patrons that want to get on there, and I'll leave that up forever. So we'll do that because the request came in. There's going to be a couple other documents that are in there. I think they're mostly random tables, but it's just stuff that we have published or talked about in the past and made available for people. So the next question was from Lee Dog 22 again. Adam, because I know you don't like having technology around your table either, how do you handle visibility when dealing with fog of war, particularly in hex crawl scenarios? I am primarily asking for ways to speed up gameplay when you can't just click and reveal the portion of the map that people can see. So, I handle my maps in two ways when it comes to fog of war. I do overland and I do battle maps. For battle maps, room by room or section by section, I will actually cut it out. And then slowly to lay down the rooms one at a time as doors are opened and people can see. If there's a hallway that takes a hard left, then I actually cut the hallway at an angle so you can kind of see a little bit around the corner, but not the whole thing. I do this in a way so that my players can unfold the map. They don't know how big it is until it goes. This works great for tunnels and cave explorations and literal dungeons they've never been before. I also like to do like a whole large, like 30 by 15 battle map with like a structure or a house in the middle, and they're going to enter the house, so they have the dimensions, and then I slowly start to reveal the different rooms as they move through it. Then when they find a staircase, I will, beside this large map, start to build the second story or the basement or wherever they go as well. So that's how I do it for battle maps. For hex crawls and overland, what I do is get very frustrated in general. I give them a huge map and I let them see everything because my guys are going to be able to fly, or they're going to be able to procure a map from somewhere else, like a literal map, and I will give them the map that is drawn in world, and then a map that they can see what you can see from this area, so it gets more and more vague as it goes. But then eventually I just give them the overland map. They get an airship, they can look around, they can see it all. But they don't necessarily know what's in it or what it means. So when they can see the entirety of the jungle, and they can probably see the ruins sticking out from the top of the trees. They know they're headed in that direction. But the jungle is just jungle. What I do is, I have usually written down on a piece of paper, but sometimes I just keep it on a Google Drive in my phone, I've got all of the hexes, or we use square grids, where I number them. So I've got A1, A2, A3, A4, right? And then B1, B2, B3, B4, and so on and so forth, right? And so when they end up moving through the area, I then just go to my notes and say, what is in this area? And I will drop, usually if it's a hex crawl and there's not something really important like a bridge or a river or something like that, I will just have a generic drawing of wilderness. I'll roll a d4 to find out which way is north so that I can just spin the map 90 degrees or 180 degrees or 270 degrees, whatever I need to, so that the orientation is a little bit different over and over again. And then I will drop another like hand-drawn map on top of it that fits the area for, hey, you find a hole in the ground, you find a abandoned kobold village, you find whatever. If there are these unique situations that really require there to be like a massive crevice or a river or something, I will just make that entirely separately. When I get into that hex, I will then drop it on the ground. I use a lot of theater of the mind to get them to the places they need to go, and then I zoom in. Like Terry said in the episode, I will, like Final Fantasy, zoom into an encounter. The other thing that I've done recently, I am DMing kind of a little side story for Dan, Dave, and Kyle, and they're doing a hex crawl right now. I have a dry erase map that on one side is a square grid and on the other side is a hex grid. So on the square grid, because we like it better for battle maps, I drew generic jungle, which is where they are. And on the back, I just numbered literally every one of the hexes. And I told them, you're starting here and go. And because there's literal fog and mist in the area as well as thick jungle, they can't get their bearings anywhere. So as they stumbled around, they finally got to a cliff face, said, okay, we're going to follow the cliff face. And so they could track where they were going and kind of what direction. But when we started off, they didn't know if they were heading north or east or south or west until they found a landmark. And I made a note of it. And it wasn't until they were able to get some sort of clear visual representation, a landmark or stars or something they could see to navigate by, then I plugged it all in to the hex grid and they went, oh, okay, we see where we are. We think we want to go this way. And then they did. And after that, it was just tracking. Every time they enter a hex, they roll a survival check to find out if they're going to continue going in the direction they want to go. If they roll a 5 to 20, they do. If they roll a 1 through 4, who knows? I will roll randomly behind the screen to find out what direction they go. Either north, south, east, or west. Because they may actually stay on the right path, just by sheer luck. So, that's how I handle hex grids and fog of war and visibility. The next question was Guiding 445, r/guiding 445, this is from Reddit, says, question off of Mailbag 43. For mass combat, swarms, or other large-scale engagements, would you be willing to consider the troop rules from Pathfinder 2nd Edition adapted for 5e? And I'm answering this because I know that nobody else except maybe Dan would actually look this shit up. So I did sit down to look it up because I don't know what this is. And I got exactly 30 seconds into my Google search before I started to see the complaints coming in about why is it trash? Why does nobody at Paizo actually like the rules? Why does the Bestiary 3 throw them out? And like everybody is complaining online about the rules. And when I see a rule system that requires that much homebrew and that much complaint, absolutely not. I will not use it. I might as well come up with something that makes more sense to me. And we actually covered this in a handful of episodes. We've touched on mass combat. But Tyler and I did a pretty good deep dive. I think it was Tyler and I did a pretty good deep dive on it in the campaign builder on the Patreon as well. Anybody from the Copper Wormling tier and up is going to be able to have access to that episode. And the last question, which I think that I'm uniquely able to answer, I know that it's actually about Dave, but he's, I don't think, going to be in a mailbag for a while either. So I thought we would address this now. Alexander, another Skip, says, what is Dave's favorite nation and why, and what is their flag's colors? And I will tell you this, I know for a fact, Dave is a proud Canadian. He loves everything Canadiana, and he absolutely would tell you Canada is the best country in the world, despite its many, many flaws. He loves the environment, he loves the terrain, he loves the climate, he loves the culture, and he loves the fact that he has pretty much all of the amenities that he needs. It's what he loves, and he is proudly Canadian. The colors, of course, are red and white, or, and I know this from personal experience, pink, if you put the flag through the wash. So don't do that. Keep Canada red and white. The last question, which is just me kind of reiterating a point, Megan was talking earlier. There was a question that was essentially, where do you get more of the tables that you all mention? I've heard you mention random encounter tables, so on and so forth. Megan said that we use decks of cards for stuff. This is the actual D&D like official card sets that you can buy. Let me just grab it here for a sec. They are published by Hasbro. They're official Wizards of the Coast content. The monster cards, they have spell cards, they have monster cards as well. They've got item cards. I collect the monster cards. They have them separated by the monster manual, CR 0 to 5, 6 to 16, and then the 17 and above, which I believe is an epic pack. That's the only one I don't have. Then they have one for Volos, so all the monsters in Volos, and they have one for Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, so not the Monsters of the Multiverse. All of those, technically, those two packs are now wrong because they've been republished, but you can still buy the packs, the decks of cards, which are good enough for what you need. There's also a pack for creatures, which is to say beasts, the animals like dogs and cats and shit, and NPCs as well. That's where you're going to find your commoner and whatnot as well. So that has a deck. I love these as reference cards for myself if I don't want to go flipping through a monster manual. Or, if it's good enough, I will actually use them, say, for example, if there's a vampire, it doesn't have all the info that I want on there. So I actually use it as a bookmark in the monster manual. I love it for that, but I also separate them out based on what's going to be in this environment and at relatively this level. I will mix and match from the different packs, shuffle them all together, and then our random encounters will be the players drawing cards. Each one of these packs in Canada costs $20-25, somewhere around there. I am $125 deep into this. This is probably the most expensive way to do it, but you do get to hold up the card for the most part, not so much with the NPCs, but for everybody else, you get to hold it up and say, this is what you see, and show them the art without necessarily showing them the name or the stats, which you have to do when you open up the book to show them. All of this, of course, is a moot fucking point if you're doing it online or you use digital tools like holding up an iPad or something like that. So that is how we do our random stuff. Again, keep an eye on r/It's a Mimic. I'm going to sometime either today or tomorrow get that Reddit post up with the link to our Google Drive with all of our published shit. So you can see my random tables. Again, just like a heads up, I do it by terrain for the random encounters with enemies, but I don't do it based on the terrain that they give you in the monster manual or in the Dungeon Master's Guide or the Player's Handbook. I go with marshes and jungles and wastelands and the stuff outside of forests and grasslands and stuff. A lot of it's comparable. Marshes equal swamp. Jungle and forest kind of go hand in hand, but I've made my own, and I hope you guys will be able to understand it when you read it, that the very first thing that you make them do is you make them roll to find out the severity of the random encounter or the intensity of it, and then that will point you to which random encounter to use when they're rolling on a smaller table.
Nailed it.
Beautiful.